What if you don't need to live in pain and suffering? What if you could give up your karma and have a life of abundance and joy? What if you could start creating magic and miracles that you never thought were possible? Get ready to listen, share, and experience the magic that is you. Now, here's the host of Creating Abundance with Ease radio show, Dr. Helen Gitlevich.
Welcome. I'm Helen Gitlevich in Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is, are you trying to prove how right you are? And are you trying to prove you're right, and yet are you thinking that you're wrong? What if you can actually go beyond right and wrong and be in total allowance? Let's have a conversation about allowance and how you can use to create more in your life. Just a few minutes ago, I had a conversation that there are relatives who are trying to prove how right they are in our lives. And how many people do we have that are trying to prove their rightness of their point of view? And how much are we resisting that? Because what's interesting, it doesn't matter if we align and agree with their rightness or if we resist and react to their rightness. In both cases, we continually perpetuate and perpetrate on ourselves their points of view, and we buy them. If we align and agree, we buy them automatically, pretty much. It goes into our universe, and we start creating with that, because our point of view creates our reality. So when we align and agree or resist and react to any point of view, right or wrong, good or bad, doesn't matter, it still creates that point of view in our universe. It's another solid point of view that we keep creating our life from. So, and resistance and reaction is not much different. People say, what? What are you talking about? Like, I don't want that point of view in my life. That's totally wrong. Yeah, but pushing it away does not make it go away. It's still there. It might be floating in your universe that you're not even aware. That's what we call like secret points of view. They're so secret we don't know that we're creating from them. So think about how many lies you bought over the period of your life on earth right now versus other lifetimes. All of that, and everywhere where we try to prove how right we are, we stuck ourselves with that, other people with that, and every time we resisted and reacted somebody proving that they're right, we also bought those points of view. Because in order to resist and react, we have first to take it in, to examine it, to understand it, to stand under, and then reject it. And by rejecting, it didn't go away from our universe. It just went into subconscious or unconscious area of our brains. So the idea is, if it's in subconscious, it actually creates more havoc than it's worth. We're not even aware that the point of view is there. Think about points of view that your mother had when you were growing up, the one that you resisted and reacted to and said, I will never do that, or I will never say those things. And how often do you catch yourself doing and saying those things? It's like, oh shit, I'm being my mom. And yet, we think by resisting and reacting is how we can reject it and not have it. No. The only way is to move forward is actually letting go of all those points of view completely, is not having a point of view. Pretty much, oh, interesting. How cool is that? Because every time when we fight to prove our rightness, we actually already decided that we are wrong, because other people's points of view always valuable. How often do you have to listen to other people to realize that you know more than they do? Wow. Yes, you do know much more than they do, but you kind of like look at that and say, wait a second. They have the degree after their name. Or, oh, they've studied that so long, so they must know more. And for years, I actually refused to have the letters after my name, the MD, because I'm a doctor, but I didn't want people to know that I know. It's funny, isn't it? Because I didn't want to be right, or I didn't want to... Actually, I just had an awareness. I didn't want to be wrong. It's not that I didn't want to be right, or I wanted to be right. I just didn't want to be wrong. So how many of us have that fear of being wrong instead of, and already actually deciding that we are wrong because other people told us? So everywhere where you decided that you're wrong while trying to prove that you're right, would you destroy and uncreate that and let go of those points of view? Thank you. Right and wrong, good and bad, talking about all 9 short points. And that's a clearing statement of access consciousness. I'm not going to go into that because that's not the purpose of this conversation. But you can listen to Dr. Dane here on the website, theclearingstatement.com. It explains how it works, what it does, but basically it's a magic wand that allows us to clear all of our limitations, all our kind of points of view, just by saying those phrases, basically getting out of right and wrong, good and bad. And the idea is to be in allowance. And what is allowance? Allowance is not being a doormat, because a lot of people totally confuse allowance and acceptance. Because a lot of spiritual modalities teach that you have to accept things the way they are. And in a way, yes, you have to be in allowance of that, but you don't have to accept that. Because acceptance is more of point of view, oh, they abuse me, I will be that enlightened being, I let them abuse me, but I will not react. Not so much. And we'll talk about reaction and action a little later, but with instead, allowance is, if you do that to me again, I'll kill you, is a point of view of not having a point of view of what's going on. You just look at what works and what doesn't work. And if it doesn't work for you, don't continue with that. Don't allow people, or don't accept people abuse. Don't accept anything that doesn't work for you. Don't accept the lies. But you don't have to resist that. You don't have to kind of like fight to prove your rightness. You just look at that, any point of view, no matter what it is. Let's say social isolation. You can go along with that, what the country says, but you don't have to react. You have to choose what works for you, not against you. Interesting point of view is looking at things and say, oh, interesting point of view, they kind of like being an asshole. Do I want to stay in that relationship and continue live with an asshole? No. Not really. Because what comes out, as Gary Douglas says, what comes out of asshole is just shit and farts. So do you want to stay in that area where you smell the shit and farts? Or do you want to walk away? Or ask them to kind of like change their behavior, maybe not eat the beans the night before. And everything that came up right now will you destroy and uncreate that. Thank you, right and wrong, good and bad, talking about all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So allowance is just like, okay, cool. I don't have to resist them. They can do whatever they want. I'll just choose what works for me. If it works for you to stay there, fine. If it works for you to walk away, fine too. It's about looking at what's important for you. What is your priority? What is important for your body? What's important for your being? It's not about what's right. Maybe the right thing to do is to stay in a relationship that is awful. But what if it doesn't work for you? What if you don't have to resist and react that or align and agree with that? Just walk away and say, interesting point of view. So how many of you are resisting and reacting to people that have that point of view of right, I'm always right? That's one of the ways to control you, actually. If you align and agree or resist and react, you become controllable because you react. If you are in a no point of view or interesting point of view, when you don't align and agree, when you don't resist and react to anything, you are not controllable because then you become aware. You become aware of what works, what doesn't work. You become aware what they are doing or being. That's simple. We make life so complicated. And that's usually based on the right and wrong. Moral, immoral, because we have so many judgments. And right and wrong is nothing more than a judgment. It's more about kind of like being an allowance, but also be aware. And it's time for our first break of the show. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we'll continue to discuss the right, the wrong, and whatever works for you. We'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is, are you trying to prove how right you are? And before we went on a break, we were talking about that keep breathing. We were talking about kind of like not getting out of right and wrong. But what's interesting, a lot of people are not getting out of it. And what I was going to talk about, pain, because a lot of people use pain as part of that resistance and reaction or alignment and agreeing with being how right they are, because they try to prove their point of view by creating that choice of pain. Because pain is something that intensity we're unwilling to receive. So if we decided that pleasure is wrong, or pleasure is right, and if we resist and react, we create pain in our body. So what if we let go of that? What if we just choose to be who we are? And when we fight for something, you make it impossible for you to be aware of what's actually there. Especially if you're trying to prove your rightness, or you try to prove that somebody else is wrong. It's all about control. It's all about being in this reality and functioning at the lowest denominator with people who are around you. So what if it wasn't important, whatever people tell you? What if judgment is not important? What if you, by the virtue of you knowing more, can actually choose something different? What if you can create something totally different in your life by not defending for or against any point of view that you have or other people have? Because is judgment real? Is right and wrong real? Is good and bad real? No, none of it is real. Everything is just a point of view. So what if you choose every single point of view you have as an interesting point of view? There is an amazing tool in Access. Interesting point of view. And that's what we've been talking about half of our show right now. Interesting point of view. So think about anything in your life, any decision you made, or any point of view somebody pushes on you. Just any small, big, doesn't matter. Just think of that, and let's say a few times, it's an interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view. It's an interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view. It's interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view. It's interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view. It's interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view. How do you feel right now? I feel lighter because whatever I was thinking no longer relevant. And how much do we make those points of view of other people, their rightness, relevant? And we follow it. And by the way, it doesn't matter if it's somebody close to you, it's your family, or if it's somebody on TV, radio, including me, by the way. Don't believe me. Use your awareness. Don't make this right. Make your awareness make your awareness important. Make it priority. Because it's not about anything. Nothing in this reality is actually important. What if really nothing is important? Let's drop our barriers and expand. We've done that on a few of my podcasts, so you know how to do it if you listen to it. If you didn't, I'll walk you through. Just drop your barriers and open your crown, that's top of your head, and allow the energy of the universe to go through your body, through your feet, into earth, and pull the energy of earth through your feet, through your body, and out of your head. And allow that energy to swirl in your heart, and from the heart expand a mile, 10 miles, 100 miles, and you can use kilometers instead if you're in Europe or anywhere in the world other than the United States and England. And expand, make yourself as big as Earth, and expand even more into solar system and beyond. And keep expanding, keep expanding, keep expanding. And now, from that expansion, look at the points of view. Look at everything that going on in your life. How big is that? Is it as big as you thought? Or you made yourself small compared to whatever it is you decided you are. So you made yourself small compared to the problems. So what the problems are so tiny that they're not important. And how much pain in your body right now? Take that pain and expand that. See if it's still there. Take any argument you had with somebody and expand that. Is it still there? No. A lot of it just disappears as soon as you expand, because now it becomes a tiny dot on a radar, a blip that you can ignore. And sometimes you don't have to ignore it. You can deal with it much easier when it's just a blip on the radar, because it no longer controls you. It's that rightness or wrongness that controls us. It's that good and bad notion that you have to judge. Are you good? Are you bad? Are you right? Are you wrong? Did you do something bad? Did you hurt somebody? What if you cannot hurt anybody? What if it's their choice that allows them to be hurt? Because, truth, Have you ever hurt anybody on purpose? Like really on purpose, just to hurt them? Even if you did, was it something that they created, they chose for you to do or be that? I remember one instance. Usually I'm extremely nice when I'm dating somebody, and with men I'm pretty much used to be a doormat. I would do anything to please them. I would kind of like make sure that they're taken care of before I would. Well, it's no longer the case now. But in that case, I was always nice because I judged myself. I had to be nice. That's how I've been taught. That's how I've been entrained pretty much. And then I met somebody who had an idea that every woman that he was dating was a bitch. He was extremely kind and nice person, don't get me wrong. But suddenly I found myself being a bitch. And I judged myself for that, being wrong. I had no idea why I was doing that at that time. We're talking about years ago, when I was younger. And not until I got to Access with learning right and wrong and resistance and reaction to that, or alignment and agreeing with that, I realized that because he had a judgment, and not necessarily people say those things, because we are energetic beings and we read minds pretty much. We can read people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions very well without even being aware of it. Cognitively, I'm talking about. So his point of view was that he was always mistreated, and somewhere that was a point of view that he deserved it. Maybe it was from other lifetime. So I played out that scenario of being a bitch to him. It didn't work for me, so I had to leave the relationship and kind of like let go of that, because it didn't work for me to be a bitch. It didn't work for me to be nasty or mean. So how many of you actually being mean to somebody because that's what they expect you to be? Or somebody else is mean to you because you expect them to be that. Because if we judge people one way, nothing that doesn't match our judgment can come into our universe. And we are ready to go on our second break of the show. You've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on the Inspired Choices Network. When we return, we'll continue to discuss how judgment affects our relationships. And I'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is, are you trying to prove how right you are? And before we went on the break, we were talking about relationships and how we're trying to prove our rightness, but also having the judgments and picking up judgments from our partner's heads and behaving in the way that they judge us the way we're supposed to be in their eyes or in their mind instead of what we actually are. And that's one of the ways of controlling us, because they have a picture of what we're supposed to be, not necessarily what we are. How many times you've had a relationship and you kind of like, first when you met somebody, you had one judgment. Oh, he or she is beautiful, wonderful, blah, blah, blah. But then there might have been a thought, oh, she looks a little bit maybe like my ex. That was mean. I hope they will not be mean to me, like my ex. And I'm not saying that's exactly the words I'm using, but I'm giving like an example. It can be something else. And then as time goes by, that person starts becoming as mean as your ex. Why? Because we're resisting and reacting to that. Because we have that judgment of the wrongness or rightness, and they don't have a choice. They pick it out of your brain, and as I said, nothing that doesn't match your judgment comes in there. So even if that person is nice, nobody can be nice all the time, by the way. Nobody can be good all the time. Nobody can be wrong all the time or bad all the time. We all have moments, but you will not see those moments that when that person is nice and wonderful, but you will definitely see those points and those moments where they're mean and awful. And that's what you would remember. That wrongness that you resist to. So what if you didn't resist? What if you didn't have any points of view? How much different your relationship would be with that person if there was no expectation, no projection, no rejection, no separation? What if you didn't have any judgments of them? Would they behave in the way you expect them to behave? Remember I said no expectations, no judgments? Yeah. How much your life would be different if that was the case? So what if you let go of your expectation, projection, rejection, and separation of other people and just be an interesting point of view about them? Think about somebody in your life that may be upset with, or maybe you love them so much you think of them, they are the best thing ever happened to you. You choose which one you pick. And now let's do it again. It's an interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view about this person. Interesting point of view. I have interesting point of view with this person. Interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view about this person. Interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view about this person. Interesting point of view. I have this interesting point of view about this person. How do you feel about this person? Anything has changed? Anything has shifted? Huh. Yeah, a little lighter, isn't it? So, how much of the rightness or wrongness actually prevents you from choosing more for you? How much have you decided that you're wrong and that's why you don't have the money? How many reasons and justifications do you have that keeps you in that point of view that's solid, that's not allowing you to have the life you desire? What if it's not a wrongness or rightness? What if you just be who you are, the infinite being? Remember the expansion? Was it wrong or right? Was it good or bad? It was neither. It was totally that space of possibilities. Because if we have the point of view of right or wrong, how many possibilities do we have? 2. Right or wrong? Right? When you don't have a point of view, how many possibilities do you have? Infinite. So which one would you choose? Being right or wrong? Being good or bad? Or would you choose infinite possibilities and magic? I'm choosing infinite possibilities. And maybe it will take a while. So my home play for you is for the next few days, for every point of view that comes up, right or wrong, doesn't matter. What if you did interesting point of view? There is, by the way, an app, which is totally free. It's Access Consciousness app. It's available in both Apple and Android. It's called Interesting Point of View, Access Consciousness, or Access Consciousness Point of View. Don't choose that, because that might get you out of your points of view into infinite possibilities. How much different your life would be if you chose that? And by the way, I'm co-facilitating a class, which is going to be 10 parts, How to Become Money Workbook, which will be getting you out of points of view about money. And it's starting May 26th. What if you join us in those conversations about money and points of view that hold you away from all the money that you could have? And you can find the information on my website, Creating Abundance with Ease, or helengitlevich.accessconsciousness.com. So, how many points of view do you have about money? Is money right or money wrong? Money don't have any rightness or wrongness. It's just the points of view that creates that. How much have you decided that having money is the right thing to do, or not having money is the wrong thing to do? My suggestion is getting that book, even if you don't join me for those conversations, and go through the exercises, because that might change your point of view about money, and by virtue of changing your point of view, you might have a different reality with money, because our point of view creates our reality. And how many points of view create your money reality? How many projections that you have about money that keeps you away from it? Just saying, what if you didn't have to have any points of view about money? And how much have you decided the wrongness of you is what keeps you away from money? Because I know there is a lot of points of view about deserving, not deserving. Those are still judgments. If you deserve money, if you don't deserve money. It's more about creating more for you, creating infinite possibility by getting out of right and wrong. And not resisting and reacting to that. Because if you resist and react to the notion of right and wrong, that's also keeping it in place. Wow. Because how many of you are aligning and agreeing that there is a point of view of right and wrong, or align and agree that you shouldn't have the point of view of right and wrong? And how many of you think of it as a wrongness and resist and react to that? What if all of that keeps you stuck? What if choosing something is... What if you chose infinite possibilities instead? Let's talk about interesting point of view about money. So how many interesting points of view do you have? And by the way, it's about really not having a point of view, because if you go into the conversation, oh, you have an interesting point of view about money, is that an interesting point of view, or is it another point of view that keeps you in that frame of mind, resistance and reaction? It's totally letting go of anything that holds you back. Would an infinite being truly choose to be right or wrong? Maybe it's okay to be right and being wrong. I'm talking about not resisting either side. And it looks like we are ready to go on our third and final break. And you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with myself, Helen Gitlevich, on Inspired Choices Network. And when we return, we'll continue to discuss our right and wrong points of view. Maybe talk a little bit more about money. And we'll be right back.
Many of us live our lives based on karma, on the past, and all the unfinished business in our lives. What would you choose if you did not have karma, or if you could choose what you desired instead? By tuning into Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to create the abundance in your life. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to have ease with creating abundance? Listen for Creating Abundance with Ease radio show every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is Creating Abundance with Ease radio show with Dr. Helen Gitlevich. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to helen.g@att.net. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Helen Gitlevich on Creating Abundance with Ease, and today our show topic is, are you trying to prove how right you are? And what just came up for me during the break, I was thinking about how much are we proving our rightness by not having money? Because how many spiritual modality over trillions of years taught us that holy men or women or saints, they all were poor. So how much are we proving that we are being that martyr, that holiness, that goodness by not having money? What if you didn't have to prove that you're right about money, that you're right being the enlightened being by not having money? Interesting point of view, that we have that point of view. What if everything is just a choice? Not the rightness, not the wrongness, just a choice we make with everybody that and everything in our lives. Some of them might not be some right choices. Maybe they were not smart choices, and some of them were. What if choice is something that creates infinite possibilities? What if those choices can give us more awareness instead of the rightness? It's about being who we are with no judgment. How much we judge our body of right shape, right form, right exercise or wrong exercise, wrong shape. What if we let go of all of that? Would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all your points of view you have that you're still holding on that are right or wrong about your body, about your life? Would you? Thank you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pack and pat, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. As I said earlier, judgments are nothing more, I rephrase, right and wrong are nothing more than judgments that you either created yourself or bought from other people. Majority of them actually you bought from other people. You picked up. Because how often you've been judged as when you were growing up? How often you've been told you're wrong. This is wrong. Don't do it. It's a wrong thing to do. Or, oh, you're so right. Yeah, this is the right thing to do. This is the right way of doing things. Are those? Or are those just judgments of the people around you? Would you return it back to them and let it go? Thank you. Right and wrong, good and bad, pack and pat, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And you don't have to remember the clearing statement. You can just remember pack and pat. You can just pack and pat, which is point of creation, point of destruction, POC, POD. Those two abbreviations or two words, as we use them in daily practice, pretty much can eliminate all those points of view you have that's not working for you. And by the way, they cannot destroy what's true and real. That's a safety net in the clearing statement, because it can only destroy all the lies. What if you just let go of all your rightness? No. Wow. It's interesting how many people are holding on to the rightness of their point of view. Because if you didn't have the rightness or the wrongness, who would you be? What if you like your personality so much that you would hold on to your limitations no matter what they're doing to you? Interesting choice. Well, that's also an interesting point of view. You have this interesting point of view. What if you don't have to have personality? What if you can be you without the personality? How much different would it be? How much your life would be easier if you didn't have personality that you had to judge and correct all the time? What if you could do whatever you desired in the moment you desire it? And you would say, yeah, but what if you do something wrong? What if you did something right and have infinite possibilities and chose them? What if you actually, if you're aware, you could choose something that works for you? I don't know if you listen to the shows I've done on light and heavy. Whatever is true makes you feel light, and whatever is heavy is a lie. So what if you followed that as a direction in your life? Not the right thing to do, not the wrong thing not to do, but follow what's true for you with no point of view. How much your life would be different if you only acted instead of reacted to things in your life? What if you be instead of do? How much your life would be different? How much it wouldn't have the rightness and wrongness, and there wouldn't be any reaction or resistance or alignment and agreeing, and you would just choose based on a choice instead of necessity of right and wrong. And we have just a couple of minutes left. I just want to remind you about the class I'm doing with Rachel Silber from Guatemala. We call Facilitating How to Become Money Workbook. And it will be translated into Spanish and Russian, but it will be in English. And we will go into all points of view, all the right points of view and the wrong points of view about money, and what keeps you from having money, from having abundance, from having wealth. And what if you don't have to suffer? What if you don't have to be in pain? Because all of that, pain and suffering, is a resistance and reaction to either pleasure or receiving. And what I found out, we were reading, I think, through some reference material or in Money Workbook, I found out that when we feel overwhelmed, it's actually over-resistance to receiving. So when we refuse to receive, when we resist to receive, a lot of times we go into overwhelm and pain. So let's explore that in 10 classes. It's going to be twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting on May 26th. It will be noon Central Standard Time, and around Europe it will be in the evening, and somewhere it will be mornings. So if you desire more money, join us. It will be fun. And you can see other shows and other free webinars or paid webinars on my website. Next week, we'll talk more about getting out of judgment and how we can create more abundance in our lives. So what if you didn't have to resist and react or align and agree to anything? And I'm talking about to anything in your life. What if you could just be present and receive everything? And till next time, you've been listening to Creating Abundance with Ease with Helen Gitlevich, and we'll be back next week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Creating Abundance with Ease radio show. Dr. Helen Gitlevich will return next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have fun using the tools of the week in your life and start creating